Going to football match in the middle of pandemic was another one of stats in a reality TV show. A pre-match message instructs me to arrive at Hampden Park in Glasgow 3 hours before Scotland kick off against the Republic. I must wear a mask at all times. I must take in all food from my micro bag to a plastic bag provided by the stadium, and all the catering outlet will be shop. So no fancy burgers or cartons of flat Pepsi to keep me going. When I immediately turn up the stadium, 3 hours early, the crowds are predictably sparse. The pub outside the ground overflow with supporter wrapped in Scotland flag looked like a tempting alternative. But when I suggest to a steward that I might go get a drink ahead of the game, a look of concern crosses her kindly face. "Be careful which pub you're going to," she said. "They will see you coming." What is she referring to? Could it be the Dutch book bag A4 side that I'm clutching? I have given my spare ticket to a real Scot, my friend, and last year is from Edinburgh, so also now 100% at home in Glasgow. We decided to take the advice and skip the pub. Inside the stadium, in counterfeiting the loudest tartan suit I ever seen, including a tiny tartan clutch bag. I posed for the photo with him, and they tells me I had a tailor-made, son. It fits me like a glove. It is not just cover regulation that make this unique and peculiar European tournament. Euro 2020, as we have fast insist on calling it, has also become sucked into the culture wars. National football team are a symbol of the nation, but that is not a straightforward task at a time when national identity is so fiercely contested. For Scotland, the pressing issue is independence. For England, it is race. The English football team has decided to take the knee before matches as a protest against racism, but each time they do it, they are booed by a significant section of their own supporters. Even the government seems uncertain about how to respond. After hesitating for a while, Boris Johnson Prime Minister condemned the booing and urged fans to get behind the team. But two members of his cabinet, Jacob Rees-Mogg and Priti Patel, have defended the protesters, are not expressing racism but condemned the Marxists of Black Lives Matter movement. Patel, Britain's Home Secretary, accused the player of indulging in gesturing politics. Players from the England team whose pre-game press conference are normally confined to discussing tactics, injuries, and the autonomy inside the game are now being added to real Home Secretary. It would be natural to assume that cabinet ministers are better at politics than footballers, but the Johnson government has reason to be worried of the clashing with the England team. Last year, it went down to an unanimous defeat when it took on Marcus Rashford for exchange free school meal for performance. Manchester United and England both mobilized millions against behind the petition and forced the Johnson government to change tack. The 23-year-old Rashford preparation for 2020 included a Zoom call with Barack Obama. While plenty of tourists are prepared to work in Rashford, none are willing to work Rashford in private. None are willing to take him in public. The culture wars of football are not just happening in Britain. While the multiracial Bazan team took the knee in Russia ahead of their opening game, they were also booed by the crowd. That list, the Russians also protested against Marxism. Viktor Orban, Prime Minister of Hungary, one of host nations for 2020, defended fans who visiting team, saying that Hungary see the gesture as a provocation. Orban is himself a right-wing provocateur who has become a hero to the Trumpist right in America by frequent warning about the elderly dangerous Europe being flooded by Muslims. But even some moderate conservatives are uncomfortable with football taking the knee. One prominent thinker in Britain laments to me that football should be in a public space, but now the national team has become a source of division. I can see what it means. This year's tournament inevitably brings my memories of Euro 96, when England also played their games at Wembley and the whole country did seem to get behind the team in a complicated sort of way. Back then, packed the stadium all joined the singing of three lines. Football's coming home. Now the stadiums are largely empty and some of the home crowds actually bring their players. But as somebody who has been to many England games over the years, I know that the team was never mixed up with the politics or race, or is an illusion. England games have always attracted a substantial number of so-called hooligan and far-right supporters whose trademark Chinese no surrender to RA. At the last European Football Champions in France in 2016, the ugly tradition of English football hooliganism emerged. When I remarked to another fan that I didn't particularly enjoy being caught up in a riot outside of bar in Marseille, I was told curtly, "If you don't like it, you should stay at home and watch the game on television." Football grew in the 1970s was also where I saw the most overt racism that I ever witnessed in Britain. It was routine to see real players barked by bulls and monkey noises. The football authorities and commentators were silent about this for many years, so if the current national side don't want to make a statement about racism, it is hard to accuse them of bringing police into a public space. The police, particularly the racial police, have always win there. The identity issues are rather different for Scotland. Euro 2020 comes as the Scottish government is ramping up demand for second independent referendum. This is the first major international tournament the team has qualified for since 1998, neatly fitting the narrative of national revival. Arriving in Scotland for the first game of the tournament, I find the local paper full of optimism. In recognition of the enormity of the occasion, the Scottish government has even allowed schools stop lesson to allow the kids to watch the game against sex life. As a visiting English fan, I wonder how I feel about this. I grew up supporting Scotland in big international tournaments. I had little option since England failed to qualify for the World Cup in 1974 and 1978, but British identity was less complicated back then. The anthem played for the Scotland side, the lined up to play Brazil in 1974 was God Save the King. Although the recording does not show the Scottish play, looking particularly delighted. Today the team belting out Fluff Scotland loud enough to drown out the conversation. The team start the game with all the expected passion stream forward. Their captain, Drew Person, can be seen gesturing to his player to calm down. Then the Czech score and the air sucked out of the stadium, and a group of children out of the stadium. To calm down, then the Czech score and the air sucked out of the stadium. At that time, we tried to spend in the toilet next to the head dryer. The only spot in Hampden, there is hopeful chatter around the window that Scotland might be able to turn this round. But early in the second half, football history is made by the Czechs. The team center forward gets the ball on the halfway line and flows over the Scottish goalkeeper to death. It is one of the most brilliant goals any of us would ever witness. The crowd is now almost totally silent, apart from a tiny group of cheering Czechs on the other side of the stadium, and a group of children who continue happily shouting for Scotland, while the other around them was frozen in horror. After the match, Alastair reminds me that Scottish fans are used to bitter disappointment, making the national football team a symbol of nation, double-edged sword. We imagine them scoring wonderful goals and celebrating the fan, but what if your goalkeeper floundering flat on his back and tangled up in the net? Euro 2020 has already delivered humbling setback for two football-mad populist leaders. Orban gave permission for a capacity crowd to attend Hungary's opening game in Budapest against Portugal, only to see the nation side lose 3-0. Recep Erdogan, president of Turkey, traveled to Azerbaijan and sat in a place of honor next to Azer prison, from where he was able to see Turkey go down to a 2-0 defeat against Wales. 2-2 against Wales. The England team also have a heavy disappointed most ardent fan. The side often portrays an embodiment of what we like to believe are national characteristic: courage, calmness under pressure. In fact, as a recent piece by Donald Liu in The Guardian pointed out, England are uniquely bad at holding a lead in the tournament. The numbers seem to suggest they might even be battlers, and that O'Hare's or French and Italians are much better at holding their nerve, and O'Hare's the French. The French and Italians are better at holding their nerve when they tackle it. If Gareth Southgate, the England major, can somehow break this cycle and turn England into the winning outfit, it will inadvertently provide a huge boost to a Johnson camp that is desperate for simple success of Brexit Britain. But Southgate has subtly but unmistakably positioned himself to the left of the government on taking the knee. He leads a multiracial team and has reckoned to defend their right to make statements other than football, to make statements on subject other than to make statements on subject other than football. It has become accepted reason that culture wars always work better for the right than the left. But football may be an exception. All polls taken across Europe before 2020 showed 54% of England football fans supported taking the knee, with 39% opposed. If the England team keep winning, the number in favor may rise, along with the team's popularity. But once the right may find itself on the wrong end of culture war for the duration of Euro 2020, we care much less about who wins the culture war than who wins the tournament. For Scotland, Euro 2020 began with a deep-flying defeat. The England team disappointed fans almost as reliably as the Scots just slightly later in the day. On the other hand, this is a real tournament that is taking place in the middle of a pandemic. The stadiums are quarter full and England are playing half decently. I am allowing myself to put a real this outcome of the lot on England victory.